Welcome back to another episode of I'm Really Into That Stuff. I am joined by my beautiful sweet friend Sierra, or Juju Mama, as she's known on the interwebs. She is a yoga instructor, a crystal store owner, an AI artist, a founder, an entrepreneur, a cannabis enthusiast, and a whole bunch of other things. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me. Tell the people a little bit about yourself and how you got into that stuff.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for having me. That stuff brought us together. So I'm grateful for that stuff.
Yeah.
I've always been super interested in all things natural and earthy. As you mentioned, I love crystals, I love nature, I love cannabis, I love yoga, I love being outside and doing my yoga.
Mm.
So yeah, I love all of these things, and over the last few years, it's connected me with some really cool people. Most of these things I've discovered on my self-care journey of trying to self-medicate or just like make existing a bit more manageable, I guess.
That's amazing. Yeah. And so I know that you were on a self-care journey. You started kind of digging into some health stuff. And it kind of led you to like, well, let me see where this could take me. And then it's taken you everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it has taken me everywhere. Isn't that interesting how like really challenging and difficult circumstances can be like a springboard for growth and like massive opportunity?
Isn't that interesting how it literally is only ever that way and it's super annoying?
Yeah, it's just like suffering is inevitable. Sorry, not to be too esoterical and like kind of pessimistic, but
No, I love
that
it.
being said,
Be
like,
real.
I don't know, difficult situations are necessary, and it's how we grow and like gain this like situational and circumstantial experience that we ultimately like use to navigate life and help ourselves and help others.
Mm.
For me, personally, it was dealing with PMDD, which I've talked about in so many Twitter spaces and in so many different ways. So I'm not going to deep dive, but like essentially, I would get really bad mood swings leading up to my menstrual cycle, and like not in a way where every woman PMSs, in a way where it was like severe depression episodes, like
Mm.
severe rage episodes, um, anxiety that just like caused me to withdraw from others and like really affected my overall life in such a negative way. So a lot of the things I experimented with and discovered and came to love were like on this journey of trying to manage my symptoms and just like feel better about myself and feel better in my body. So moving
Mhm.
around more with yoga, discovering crystals and their energies and how
Mm.
that can like supplement and balance. So it's been incredible. And in some ways, I guess I'm grateful for that PMDD in terms of opening my eyes to all these awesome things.
um, I'm curious about, so can you PMDD stands for?
PMDD stands for Premenstrual Dysphoria Disorder,
Mm.
which is a long way of saying like you have premenstrual like, oh no, I lost my connection.
Oh no, you're here.
Wait, I is it
It'll
gonna screw you up if I leave
No,
and
I can edit.
rejoin? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna rejoin from my phone because I think I'm struggling on my Wi-Fi. I'll be right back. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, I'm back.
Yay.
I had to rejoin from my phone, so it's oriented a bit differently. Hopefully this doesn't screw you up.
All good. No problem.
Okay, let me just there we go. I don't have to hold it. Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're all good. So you were saying PMDD, and you were suffering with that for how long before you started to kind of explore what is available to you to help navigate?
Okay, yes. PMDD, so premenstrual dysphoria disorder. Yeah, so it started to become a burden not only to myself, but like the people around me. Like it would, and by that I just mean I wasn't myself. So like the people are exposed to me just kind of suffered as well because I couldn't show up in the ways that I usually would, and
Sure.
would like little things would set me off. We would have to like plan around like, oh, this is going to be a bad week for Sierra, so maybe we don't do this. And like it just started to make me feel really burdensome and like really out of control. So yeah, it was just a journey in terms of trying to manage that experience because I refused to accept like this is my experience. Like there is no way that I'm meant to exist and like every month experience such turmoil. Like I just refused for that to be okay. So I guess being relentless is a good quality at times.
You're definitely relentless. There's no question about that. I love it. I think that, so many of us, we were saying earlier, so many of us do have these like really intense, chaotic experiences in our reality. And then we're like, hold on, this cannot be the purpose for my presence on this planet. There must be something available to me that can help me to live a life that does not make me wish I was not here. So I'm grateful that you found all of that. I'm curious, I do want to get into a little bit about cannabis because I know that you do a lot of work. Like as with most of the people that I am, connected to and close to, you wear a lot of hats, and you do a lot of things. And I know that you sort of balance a lot, and I want to talk about all the different things. I really want to get into cannabis because I know that that is something that you are like really present to right now in your life, and in your healing journey. You're really using the medicine as medicine, and you're connected to brands and companies that are working with that medicine on purpose. So I'm curious for you, what's working for you with cannabis, and how did you kind of get on that path?
Yeah, I just had to take a deep breath before answering this question because what a journey and what like what a several few years it's been. So a few years. So where are we? 2023. I got into the cannabis industry in like 2015, 2016.
Were you a teenage smoker? Like, were you?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So my history with cannabis, I started using cannabis for, I don't know, maybe younger than most. I was like 14 or 15 when I smoked weed. And I will never I guess maybe no one ever forgets their first time smoking weed, but I like will always vividly remember it was like a friend and her parents smoked weed and they kept it in their bedroom and she knew, and she was like, oh, come over, like we're going to try it. And I remember being so paranoid, and I hope my mom doesn't hear this. I remember specifically I was sleeping over her house, and that's why I felt comfortable to do it. Cause I was like, oh, I'm not going to parents until the next day.
Right.
My toothbrush, and my mom showed up with my toothbrush after I took the first rip of my life. And then my mom rings the doorbell and I'm having like an existential crisis. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? And I go to the door and my mom's looking at me and she knows something's wrong. And she keeps asking, are you okay? Are your allergies acting up? Your eyes are so bloodshot. Maybe you're allergic to one of Courtney's pets. Are you okay? Do you want to come home? Are you just really these my mom is so innocent and so sweet. My mom has never smoked weed. So whatever.
Oh, bless her.
long story short, I ended up staying at my friend's house and sleeping the night and accepting my toothbrush from my mother. But that was such a crisis. So yeah, to be honest, from that point on, 14, I'm now 31. It kind of just never stopped. I mean, there were intermittent periods where it stopped.
Sure.
And always consistent or heavy or daily or whatever.
Mm.
But it kind of just became a present in my life after that.
A trusted friend.
A trusted friend, a confidant.
A shoulder to cry on. Yeah, I feel you. I was a teenage hothead. And I've gone through phases for sure. I'm in like a pause with some sprinkles of flour, I guess, but yeah, it's always been like a journey for me of like ups and downs. And I'm curious, so you got into the industry in 2015.
Oh, sorry, I was turning on do not disturb because I'm getting so many notifications. So annoying.
No problem. So you got into the industry in 2015, and then what happened and where are you now with it?
Okay, yeah. So yes. So the preface, like always enjoyed cannabis and for many reasons that I won't list at this moment. So prior to working in cannabis, I was working in product development, mostly like beauty products, but had a little experience around like pet and food and just different CPG type products. So I remember like looking for jobs and I saw a product development job, but it was like a stealth like company and it was kind of vague about what it was. And I remember applying and like kind of being like, oh, this looks cool. I'm not really sure what it is. And getting the interview and going in and it was a New York City, like at brand agency that was like tasked with the job to develop a brand and product for this, I won't say his name, but this very rich guy who came from some generational wealth who into cannabis. And that opportunity, like with the New York City based company, ultimately evolved into them offering to sponsor me moving out to California and like work for the company full time and become their VP of operations and product development. And it was really incredible, but it took a couple years. It was almost 3 years that I was with them, and kind of it took over a year to bring the product to market. It was like a Listerine strip type infused product where it was like this, like a film that you would use sublingually and it would dissolve. It was a very big undertaking. We decided to self-manufacture it. So we got a facility and hired like all these smart sciencey people. It was some of the most amazing experiences and years of my career. And when it came to a close, I was very sad. And ultimately, like many startups and companies in cannabis, they ended up going out of business.
Too many fucking stoners just being like, what are we supposed to be doing now?
It's a tough industry. It's very expensive to navigate. Regulations are really expensive.
Very competitive. Lots of people on the tip, not a lot of people with all the capital. And even if you have the capital, the guidance of how to actually bring it to market. It's a tough industry to survive in.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. You need millions and millions to get started. And if someone tells you less, they're lying to you. Unless you're gonna like whip up something in your garage, to get started with a license legally, it's like so cost prohibitive. So whatever, that experience laid the foundation for the years to come in terms of working in the industry. I lived in California for a few years before moving out to Virginia, and worked at a couple other cannabis companies, mostly focused on developing infused products and edibles. Worked on a few different things that ended up being sold in dispensaries. It was and continues to be, but I say was because I'm not so focused on it in this moment right now. But just like really fulfilling and really fun and just cool work.
Yeah, I imagine that you can't really work in that industry and be like a tight ass with like strict, like corporate mentality. Not to say that things can't be somewhat corporate, but like just the nature of the business. If you're rolling up a blunt in the middle of the afternoon because it's your job to, I feel like innately there's more chill available.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think, I think the cannabis aspect kind of creates this more lax environment. But don't get me wrong, it's still like, people get their work done and like want to be productive,
Sure.
want to win and be profitable. But there is, like, I remember my first year in the industry, I had to travel around a lot to different, several years ago. It's not like it was now where so many states have available. There were much fewer states where it was accessible to purchase recreationally. Meaning like you just have to be above a certain age to buy it as if it were alcohol.
Right.
So in product development research, I had to travel around to these different places where it was available to see what the products were. So I got to go to Colorado and a few different places. And I remember going to Colorado and having like this meeting with a potential partner and then pulling out this dab rig and this like I don't know, what is this stuff? I don't even know what the shit is you put in there because I don't ever use that stuff. Oil, I don't know what the hell it was. It was so strong. I remember them offering it to me and me feeling like if I turn this down, I'm such a punk bitch. Like I need to accept this. Like this, I know this is too intense for me and I'm gonna get a headache, but like I need to do it. And I remember doing it and thinking like in that moment, something going through my brain, like, this is my job. Like,
that's amazing. So it's been a really hard life, is what you're saying.
Yeah. There were definitely times where thinking like, I can't believe I get paid to do this, especially like working in edibles. It's like, dude, we're baking like weed brownies or whatever. I've made more sophisticated products, but like it just comes down to like, it's a weed brownie or whatever it is. It's a pot,
right?
Whatever. Like, how fancy can it be?
Things are getting fancy out there in the weed world, though, I will say. I'm curious for you how that journey led to, you owning your own crystal store, because that is how we met. We were the two crazy crystal ladies in Web3. There was like literally us out there in the beginning. I was like, hey, I have a crystal project. You have a crystal project. I think we're best friends now. So how did it go from smoking weed all day professionally and taking big dabs at boardroom meeting to you owning your own crystal store?
Oh my goodness. Okay, yes. So I live in Virginia now. I've been out here a few years. My time living in California were like my most intense years in the cannabis industry. But interestingly enough, was also when Good Juu Juu was born when I was living out on the West Coast. So I remember another vivid memory of like someone taking me to a crystal store for the first time when I was living in the Bay Area. And as a New Yorker, I don't know how else to put it. You don't have crystal stores. Like they're not.
As soon as you're like, as a New Yorker, I was just like, oh my, those things are polarities. Not that people in New York are not into crystals, but just like, I get where you're going.
Like, and I'm sure, and again, now it's like things are different. Like everything's gentrifying. Like, like things are more accessible. I'm sure there are 20 places you can buy crystals in New York now. But like when I was in New York, like I could not find any crystal stores.
Right.
And if there was one, they also had like World of Warcraft cards and like pagan stuff. And I was like, I don't know if that's combining too many interests that I'm not necessarily into.
Some of this niche has missed me and I'm out.
Like they had like runes going on. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I want to go down this rabbit hole just yet.
Right. Black candles around every wall. I got you. I feel you.
Intimidating. So I remember living in California and a friend taking me to a crystal store for the first time and me being like mind blown and like my inner, like I've always had this inner like like should have been born to live through the 60s and 70s, wannabe hippie, like flower child inside of me. And when I went,
Same.
so like I went in the crystal store and it was just like, whoa, like I could feel the energy emanating from the stones, and it just felt like home, and just something was like, whoa, like you need to be. And then when I think about it too, like my name's Sierra, like Sierra in Spanish is refers to mountain. And then I think about like crystals and like how I'm so drawn to the earth and nature. And I was like, oh yes, yes. So whatever, that experience going to a crystal store, and then also kind of learning like, oh, I can use crystals in my yoga and I can meditate with them and they can become a part of my self-care practice and they're beautiful to wear as jewelry. From there, I was just like inspired to like share the energy and the beauty of crystals with others. And I created Good Juu Juu, living in California in 2018 while working in cannabis also, kind of as this like little side hustle, did pop-ups and markets. And it's just like blossomed over these last couple of years into what I never would have imagined.
You work with the stones now. In what ways? Like, how are you bringing them into your practice now that you're like selling them? Because that's actually like a thing. I've been working with crystals literally all of my life. But I'm like afraid to sell them because I'm afraid I'll lose my connection with them, which is stupid. As I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, that's dumb and not going to happen. But I'm curious how you work them into your life. Are you not just like, and like, if you look behind me and all around me, there's thousands of crystals here. But how do you work them into your life right now? How are they working with you, or how are you working with them?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like, yeah, and I feel like this is kind of similar to like being a yoga teacher. It's just like sometimes you lose sight or focus or time for your personal practice because you're always
Totally.
teaching, tired to practice. And I feel
Yeah.
like kind of been the same with my crystals. Like it's going on 5 years with Good Juu Juu, and I'm constantly vending and doing pop-ups or selling online and packaging orders every week. And I won't necessarily say they lose their magic or allure, because they never do. But it does become harder to like, I guess, find the motivation or willpower to use them in ways that I used to.
Mm,
That excitement and enthusiasm of like learning, oh my God, how to make moon water for the first time, or what
yeah.
right for my altar this month. Like there is an
Yeah.
enthusiasm about like absorbing and learning that information for the first time.
Mm,
So part now in terms of how I incorporate them, I always wear my crystals as jewelry. I usually have at least one or two crystals, and I try to choose them intuitively and kind of set an intention for my day when I pick them. And then also something I feel really blessed and grateful to do is I vend almost every weekend, especially during the warm spring and summer months. And I'll have people come up to my booth and specifically ask. A lot of people want to pick the crystal themselves, which I totally
mhm.
and that's being a Virgo, Capricorn, honey. That's probably what I do. Like, let me nah,
Yeah. Right.
But I absolutely love when I have someone who comes to me and is just like, no, I want you to intuitively pick for me. And like the feeling of able to like take in that person's energy and then like look at what I have available and like choose what I feel is best for them, is something I really enjoy. And one of the main ways that like crystals have become a part of my weekly practice now, since I'm really focused on sharing them with others.
That's amazing. I used to, I still do. I used to. I often, when I engage with strangers in public, which I do a lot, I'll just be like existing in the world, and there's a person and they're talking about something, and I'm like, oh, here's a thing that you need to know about this, and then I'm like channeling and pulling through energy, and then all of a sudden a crystal comes out of my pocket or my purse, and I'm like, this was the thing that you needed, right? And it does. People keep that and they remember, like, and I know that I have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of crystals in this house, and there is not a single one that I cannot tell you the story behind, where it came from, how it showed up in my life, where it shows up in a powerful way now and again. If there's something that's going on in my life and I'm like, oh, I really need that baby, where's that one guy, you know and a lot of the times it's linked to, where was I in the moment when it found me? right? And what did I need then? And what do I need now that feels like that, right?
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting how like something within us just knows. And
Mm.
I don't know, I always tell people it's like you don't have to explain yourself, you don't have to make sense of it. Like I'm not looking for a dissertation on like why this feels right or is for you. Like it's cool for it to just be. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. I always, when I used to sell crystals at a store here in Toronto, people would be like, which one is the right one? And I would always say, like, the one chooses the wizard. Like, you just gotta let it say to you. I mean, it's cool for me to be like, try that and try this and maybe this kind, but still you choose the one. You decide who's your dude, who's your little guy to take home, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's seeing the variety and what people choose and why is always really fun. I get a lot of joy in seeing people get excited about finding something they like, or seeing someone get excited about finding something that they want to give to someone else that I know is going to be a gift. And just
Aw.
that process unravel. It's yeah, it's so fun. I don't know how else to put it. I really like, I don't know, some people complain about vending and pop-ups because it can be super exhausting. You're setting
Yeah.
all your stuff up. There are weekends I've spent money to be at a location, spent hours and sweat equity setting all my heavy ass rocks up.
Yep.
I've sold nothing and gone home and still had a smile on my face because I'm just like, whatever. Like I got to do what I love. What it is, that's the name of the game sometimes. So
Mm.
I just love it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. I used to do it. I have lots of friends that are vendors for lots of different things, and it can have really fun perks, and be also very energetically draining. I do also want to get into, because one of the hats that you wear, aside from this adorable blossom hat from Guava Girls that is so adorbs, is that you are also an artist. You're emerging yourself as an artist, and I know that kind of crystals and good juju kind of like brought you into this creative expression. And I'm curious, like how it evolved for you, but also how is it nourishing that same thing that yoga and cannabis and crystals do for you? Like, what is that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my experience as an artist in recent months has really been facilitated by AI. And
Hmm.
AI is something that I started exploring mostly because I've worked with a lot of flaky people over the last almost 5 years with Good Juju.
Oh, you
And
don't say. Woo woo people being flaky? Come
yeah,
on.
no, it's just like it's kind of just the nature of like being a business owner is
Yeah.
just like working with contractors. People flake out on you, people are unreliable, people say they're going to do something and don't, people do something then don't do it a way that you like it. And like
Yeah.
I, as a business owner, just kept having that experience. But like I still needed to get stuff done. Like I still needed to have blogs written. I still needed to have emails done. I still needed to have social media content. And it became like, these are several full-time jobs and I cannot manage them all as one person. And I cannot afford a top tier team. So I started investigating
Yeah.
like, how can I use AI? And that just, it's blown my mind in so many ways. I know that you're familiar with different ways that you can use AI for text to image, and also chatting with chat gpt and things like that that become very popular.
Mhm.
I guess what's been most fulfilling, other than leveraging it to like be more efficient and productive with my business,
Right.
has been using it to create art. And I will say, like, I've always loved being creative and art, and I have art from over the years, from since I was a kid, paintings and drawings I've done. And I've never been shy about expressing myself in that way, but I have always been shy about sharing it with other people. Like I'll do a
Mm.
doodle and do a painting and do whatever in my free and spare time. But in terms of like putting it on display for public criticism or ridicule, potentially, like no thank you. um
Right.
yeah, but interesting, like AI helped me overcome that fear of like of
Mm.
judgment, because it helped me create artwork that I finally felt so undeniably proud of that like I was ready to share.
I love that. That's super healing too, because there's like a part of you, if you've always been like, I'm connecting dots. If you've always been kind of hiding yourself and putting a part of yourself away, that is not dissimilar than the part of yourself that had to be put away monthly, right? And so all of the process of all of these things moving you through, you know, expressing yourself and letting yourself be in the now as it is, as you are, and showing up and like giving that to the world and being like, yeah, it's not like exactly the way that you think it should be, but it's pretty fucking beautiful. So like enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I guess what's been so incredible too is like when I first started putting it out there, it was just for my own, as you said, like gratification of like, I feel good about this and I'm going to put it out there and share it, and whatever happens, happens. But like the overwhelmingly positive response to it has been incredible, especially as someone who's been in this Web3 and NFT and online kind of digital art space for the last couple of years. It's like, it's not hard to just feel invisible or overlooked or like no one cares or no one's interested.
Right.
Even it opened a door with the JOMO effect, being one of the 40 artists. So I'm just like, it's been incredible, and it's created opportunities for me that I am positive would not have happened without AI. And I'm not saying like AI is the reason I'm successful. It's like AI requires a human,
Yes.
without being able to leverage the technology and like having access to it, it wouldn't have been possible.
Yeah. And I think that it's really an important thing to look at, because, you know, we are going in that direction regardless. And the more of us that learn how to master that tool now, especially those of us who are conscious and awake and living in our bodies and like living in our reality, like touching grass, touching earth, touching plants, touching crystals, right? Smoking plants, maybe don't smoke crystals, but you know, whatever you're smoking, smoke it well. But I just think that it's really important to learn to master those tools and to differentiate like what's real and what's not, but also like what are you wanting to create in this reality? And like, can you be in flow? Because, you know, one of the things that I've heard a bunch today as you're speaking is like, for you, where the most success seems to happen, and this is probably true for most of us, is like when you're like, yeah, I started to do it, and then I was doing it, and then I was successful. And would you believe the success just happened? And like, I know for a fact that you are a ridiculously hard worker. I know that you put all of your time and your energy and your effort into something when you do it, but then it feels like you're doing it from love. So it's not really work. And so you're enjoying it, and then it's successful, right? And so you're kind of like making it look easy and feel easy sometimes.
Oh my God. Well, thank you. That I will take that as a compliment, because I
Dude.
definitely don't want to be making it look like a struggle. That would not be cute for anybody.
Can you imagine if I was like, listen, Sierra, I just want you to know you're out here making it look fucking miserable. Stop what you're doing right now.
No, it does feel, and that's the thing, it does feel, oh yeah, selling crystals, teaching yoga, creating my AI art, every opportunity I have to say this, I say it. Like, I am living my passion and my purpose. I feel fulfilled. I feel grateful. I feel most grateful for the people who support me and like enable me to live in this manner. I feel grateful for my husband, who accepts the fact that I've chosen like some really alternative and like interesting means to like make a living, and doesn't make me feel less than or bad about that, and just is okay with the fact that his journey is different and he's on a different path. I'm grateful. And it does all go together. And the thing with AI too is like, I feel like people see things and they start to put up these limiting thoughts in terms of like, oh, I can't, or that's too technical, or I don't know how, or that's not going to apply to what I'm doing. But within a few months, I was able to learn how to use AI, to teach myself how to use AI to make meditation visualizers for Good Juju. And that's something I'm so proud of. And I'm so, again, like without AI, it would not have been possible. But like the animation, the music, this kind of meditative kind of sound frequency, Tibetan singing bowl type music to go with the visual kind of animations to watch, like this is what I want to use technology for. And like the fact that I can is just like, whoa.
So cool. It's so cool. And, you know, I mean, anybody who has fear of this technology, I really want to say, like, we're already, you know, this like idea of like a chip in your brain and then you're going to live forever and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we already live forever. We're already trapped in our bodies. If you're afraid of being trapped in a computer, investigate how often you wish to leave this reality. Perhaps there's even more expansion that's available. And the more that you learn to master this tool and to work with it, you actually can open up portals of your own creativity, imagination, capacity for output, capacity for input too. Like it really does transform. And I think that any of these people who are on this kind of like woo spiritual path, or even not woo, but just like, you know, conscious evolution, if you're afraid of AI, you're not right. And I don't mean to be so divisive about it, but I actually do, because I can see, you know, working in Web3, but also being in this like very esoteric world, the two are, science and spirituality meet at the top of the same pyramid, and we need to bring them together faster so that we can evolve our consciousness. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I'm always mind blown by like Web3, NFTs, deep tech, AI. Like this fringe technology has connected me with people that I share values and interests with on deeper levels. And, you know, as someone who spent some time on this planet and having different experiences, working different jobs, going to college, it's like, it's not always easy to find your tribe. There are a lot of amazing, awesome people out there that you'll encounter. But in terms of like finding a concentrated group of people who gets it, yeah, it's been a struggle until Web3, NFTs, deep tech. Like it's like all of us weirdos have just come together.
I know. I've been saying that a lot lately. Like none of us wanted to belong, or none of us belonged in a different kind of headspace. And then all of us just like together, and the way that we can drop in so deeply, and you and I have never been in person together, is unreal to me. It blows my mind all the time. And it's proof to me that this technology is doing good already if you are doing good in the world, right? So I'm just kind of like really being with all of that, and super, super grateful that our friendship exists and that all of it is growing and evolving. It's just kind of a miracle.
Yes, absolutely. It's I was I was just telling someone the other day, they were asking, we were talking about tech, and this was, I was in a yoga and kind of assisted stretching setting. So more of like a physical wellness environment. And we were talking about tech, and I made a comment like, oh yeah, I'm interested in tech. And they were like, oh yeah, like what kind? And I was like, oh, like NFTs and Web3 and like AI. And they were like, what? Like, I thought you said you were a yoga teacher.
I can be all things. Thank you.
It's everything.
I mean, that's the thing though. If you're really into that stuff, then you are everything, because you're nothing. Right. And so you can't pigeonhole yourself into one thing or another, because then you're not really spiritual. You're not really into that stuff. You're only into some stuff, and your mind is still closed. And that doesn't really work, you know?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I am, yeah, no, something that I've been really intentional about this last year is just like being my full self unapologetically, and not letting other people make me feel like I need to shrink to fit into like a one-dimensional definition of how they think I should show up based on their limited knowledge of me and my capabilities and my journey. And that's
Totally.
like saying it in those terms makes it sound very common sense, but like living it and embodying it is a challenge.
Yeah. And I think that the more a person knows you, the more they have a story about you, right? I have this conversation a lot, friends that have been in your life a long time, or parents or siblings or partners, or children, which we don't have yet, but there's like an expectation of who you should be. And it's really hard to live that. So, I thank you for being such a beautiful, beautiful reflection. This has been exceptional. I love this conversation. I can't wait to have you back here. Thank you so much. It's 2:22 as I'm saying all of this. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy with me. You are a miracle on this planet. Tell the folks where they can find you and how they can support you in all the different ways that they can, from where you are in your business today.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you for having me. It is a pleasure. Things have come full circle. You've been on my podcast. I've been on your podcast. Eventually, we'll just have a podcast together. And
Bingo. When we're living somewhere in the woods together, feet in the earth. I love it. We can AI ourselves into something new.
I know it's a pleasure and an honor. In terms of where and how to find me, so the easiest way to find me and everything I do, my crystals, my yoga, my art, is on the Good Juu Juu website. I have recently and very intelligently consolidated all of my things onto the website instead of having things everywhere. So Good Juu Juu, JUU.com. You can find most stuff. And me specifically, if you want to connect with me, I'm Juju Mama on Twitter, and it's 2 U's, JUU. So yeah, thank you for having me. I'm trying to think. I don't have any what do you call that, alpha to share. Just working hard and open to opportunities and collaborations, and glad to share this time with you. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. I know that your crystals are still for sale physically and also digitally, and all of your digital art. You're on a million different blockchains and websites. So go find all of Sierra's beauty in the world, including her gorgeous face. I love you. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of I'm Really Into That Stuff, and we will see you again next time.